really don't have strong reaction after earnings for the majority of these Mag 7. Now,
the only one you did was Meta.
Yeah, and we're waiting for Nvidia. So I could be wrong on that because Nvidia could turn around and appreciate significantly.
Well, I mean, Amy, Nvidia, Evercore today says the DeepSeek sell-off was an opportunity into the print. They want a tactical outperform. They do report on the 26th. So you got to wait a little bit. By the way, from the 13F, I saw that Tepper increased Nvidia position by 8%. Little small bump up. And, you know, that stock has obviously been in question. I know you laugh because it's a small bump up.
8%.
Well, for a big fish.
Yeah.
For a whale.
Right. I think Nvidia's quarter is going to be fine. You know, you saw the CapEx numbers from all of these guys, and they were up huge, and that's going to be to their benefit. But from a long-term perspective, would I be adding to Nvidia right now? Probably not. You know, we've owned it forever. We had clients who would kill us if we sold it at the end of last year. Those same clients are saying, you know what, you can sell some now. It's funny how when something goes down 25%, people are less in love with it, and that becomes a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. But look, Nvidia's a great company. They have a great position. The question in my mind is all about valuation. Should it be a $3 trillion company at this point?
Okay.
And I think that's a fair question.
Among the tremors felt across the technology stock landscape, Nvidia has taken a particularly hard hit. The uncertainty around Nvidia's role in the AI revolution has investors on edge, especially as DeepSeek hints at a path that may parallel or even surpass Nvidia's current offerings. Tech behemoths such as Microsoft, Meta Platforms, and Alphabet, key players in the AI domain, are closely watched for how they might react to this disruption. Welcome back, everyone, to Investocracy.
We're watching big tech. These CapEx figures that we got last week from all the hyperscalers are going to start feeding into the supplier earnings, which we're going to get over the next few weeks. Nvidia, Dell, Broadcom. Nvidia is up 3%. This is going to take you almost back to the 50-day, which it lost earlier in January. News out of onsemi today. Revenue was a bit light. That was down pre-market. You mentioned OpenAI, and they did say that they're working further on their custom chip design, which then they would outsource to TSMC, which is having its own issues regarding the earthquake in Taiwan. Guidance will be at the low, they'll be coming to the low end of guidance, they say. That's a healthy rebound for Nvidia.
Well, there was a positive call, too, on it today. Evercore says the DeepSeek sell-off creates an opportunity, quote, we're buyers into earnings. Tactical, obviously, but, you know, there's a fair debate happening on the street right now as to whether the big beat and raise days for Nvidia were over before DeepSeek, just because how can you possibly keep up? I'm not saying you can't beat and raise, but how do you beat and raise by that much continuously to keep the stock and the expectations where they have just been unbelievable? Now DeepSeek creates even more questions going in, but the stock sold off considerably and had a hard time recovering from that.
Yeah, I have to wonder, too, what it means for investment into China. There was that piece over the weekend, I believe, which talked about how the DeepSeek phenomenon has kind of reignited interest in investing in China. And this comes against the backdrop of everything we've seen with ByteDance and TikTok and all of the geopolitical issues. But you do have a incredible amount of talent in China, which is important for the tech ecosystem. And so just kind of what DeepSeek revealed about the potential for investing there in a way that really hasn't been the case over the last few years or so, is these tensions have simmered as the nations have decoupled as a result of just the competitive threat there, kind of reigniting the interest in investing in China.
As the Magnificent Seven, a group including tech titans like Microsoft, Meta, and Alphabet, release their spending plans for the year, a pattern emerges. These giants are unhesitant in their investments, with Microsoft declaring an $80 billion budget for AI infrastructure, and Meta close behind with plans for a $65 billion expenditure. Alphabet and Amazon are not far off, combining resources to the tune of an estimated $180 billion. But before going on with the video, are you into cryptocurrency? If so, check out our second channel, Investocracy Crypto. We bring you breaking news, expert analysis, and the latest trends in the fast-moving world of digital assets. Whether you're a seasoned crypto investor or just curious about the future of finance, we've got something for you. Click the link in the description to subscribe to Investocracy Crypto now. Don't miss out and stay ahead of the game. Now, let's get back to the video.
Brace for results from mega cap tech, and the Nasdaq rebounds from its worst week since April. Alphabet kicks things off tomorrow after the bell. Joining me here at Post 9 is Alphabet shareholder Doug Clinton of Deepwater Asset Management. Doug, good to see you.
Good to see you, Mike.
So we had this crack in the NASDAQ 100 and all the related names. And in retrospect, everyone could say, wow, they really were crowded. They really did dominate the market oxygen for a long period of time. This was an important reset. I guess, what do you do right now? Has there been a more fundamental rethink of what's behind these names or not?
We're sticking with tech, to make it clear and simple. I think the reality is this. If you look at what's happening now in the AI era and you compare it to the dot-com era, popular comparison, but I think it's apt. During that dot-com era, 94 to 2000, we had 11 corrections of 10% or more in the NASDAQ. And so as we think about this technologically driven boom that we're in right now, 5% shift really over the last 2 years, 18 months, let's call it, since AI broke out, is not that much to speak of in that context. And we still think the AI thing is just getting started. So these pieces and these corrections along the way are just part of the puzzle.
Starting to hear a little more chatter questioning just exactly how long the CapEx boom in AI is going to last. Obviously, it's well-financed. It's by the biggest companies in the world. They have tons of cash to spend. I mean, this is very solid as a source of demand. But the question is, if you start to see maybe not as quick a payoff monetization of a lot of these initiatives, do they just dial back?
We don't think they will. And I mean, I think that's going to be one of the prime topics as we think about Q2 earnings is what do all the mega cap tech companies say about their CapEx plans? That was the highlight, I think, last quarter, really.
Yeah.
They were more aggressive than people realize. And I think we're going to see that same messaging. And the reality is, if you think about AI and the mega caps, they sort of have to invest. They can't stop. Mm-hmm. We think of it as sort of this Pascalian wager, right? Believe in God, don't believe in God. If you don't believe in God, you're destined to purgatory. And if these companies don't invest in AI and their competitors get it right, they're in purgatory because they're no longer a mega cap company.
So they have to behave as if they believe it, whether they do or not. And I guess the question is, I mean, you mentioned last time CapEx plans last quarter were higher than expected, and the market rewarded them for the most part for it. Does that dynamic continue at this point?
I don't know that they'll reward these companies. I think it's to be expected, though. Yeah. And I think where it may play out is when we think about these hardware companies, and they've seen some of the most severe correction the last couple weeks here. I think we may get some renewed interest in those companies because they're still the prime beneficiaries of this CapEx spend.
Where does that bring you with regard to Alphabet at this point? It has been, a little bit more of the slow and steady to some degree, I guess, recently.
It has been. It's been maybe quietly one of the better performers of the Mag 7 group this year. It's still our favorite mega cap tech name, period. And I think if we think about two things, one is valuation. It trades at the cheapest multiple of the entire Mag 7 group. Right? And we also think on top of that, they trade at this cheap multiple, but they have the best story, I think, around who could really win big in AI. They've got a foundation model that's competitive with Gemini. They've got their own infrastructure, their own compute that they're building with TPUs, and they have huge distribution. I don't think any other company in the Mag 7 group can really say that other than Google.
Do expectations for Google in particular seem like they're reasonable heading in, or is the bar high?
I think they're reasonable. I think that's a good word to use here. I don't think the bar is excessively high. Particularly, you look at, again, the multiple on it. If the multiple were much higher, you look at a multiple like an Nvidia or maybe a Microsoft.
Sure.
I think expectations are a little bit higher there. For Google, I think they're sort of reasonable, and I think the quarter will be fine.
Love to get your thought on CrowdStrike. I know you have owned it in the past. Here it's, a third off its highs. Follow through selling today. Where's your stance on it?
It deserves to be a third off its highs, I think, after what happened. I mean, that goes without saying. The reality for us is this. It's a great company. I think it's going to take a quarter or two for them to work out what does this look like for the business going forward. I don't know that they're going to lose a lot of customers. They're not going to lose a lot of logos over this, but I think there's going to be a lot of pricing discussions as customers come back to renew and say, hey, take care of us. There was a big problem here, and I think that's going to take some time to work itself out.
Yeah, and for a stock that's, richly valued as it is right now for lots of growth. All right, Doug, good to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Such massive spending indicates a bullish outlook on AI's evolution, with Nvidia expected to be a significant benefactor from these capital allocations. Yet, the real test for Nvidia comes when they report earnings on February 26th. Investors are hyper-focused on Nvidia's financial guidance as a beacon, pinpointing how much of big tech's expansive budgets will find their way onto Nvidia's revenue sheets. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, Back to the video.
Continue to be in that space. You probably want to be in the digital infrastructure a la data center space above all. But the biggest takeaway from that DeepSeek moment was you have to be diversified. My clients that had their risks spread out didn't even bat an eyelash at that drawdown. So just don't put all your eggs in the AI basket.
Let's start with Nvidia. We were talking about it.
3% gain. They were added to Evercore's tactical outperform list, with the analysts there recommending buying Nvidia ahead of their earnings in about 2 weeks from now on the 26th.
Dude, you really don't have strong reaction after earnings for the majority of these Mag 7. Now,
the only one you did was Meta.
Yeah, and we're waiting for Nvidia. So I could be wrong on that because Nvidia could turn around and appreciate significantly.
Well, I mean, Amy, Nvidia, Evercore today says the DeepSeek sell-off was an opportunity into the print. They want a tactical outperform. They do report on the 26th. So you got to wait a little bit. By the way, from the 13F, I saw that Tepper increased Nvidia position by 8%. Little small bump up. And, you know, that stock has obviously been in question.
As we brace ourselves for Nvidia's upcoming earnings, the prevailing sentiment is cautiously optimistic. Historical trend lines whisper of a stock price rebound or even a surge post-earnings. But what do you think? Share your thoughts. Finally, if you would like to know what companies like Nvidia have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.